For the Tribune Review, I'm Patrick Varine, and I'm here today with Joe Altieri from Flex Screen. And first, I wanted to say that even though I wasn't able to personally use them, I could tell you that my son was extremely happy with the Flex Screen Shark Tank passes that you sent us for the Oaks event. He goes, "Dad, this is like special plastic." I'm like, "I don't know what that means."
It's special.
Like special plastic. I think he was talking about the fact that it was just matte black. Maybe I don't know. But anyways, that was the first thing that I was hoping to talk with you a little bit about because we couldn't talk about it the last time.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about kind of going through the actual Shark Tank experience itself and what it was like to have been offered a deal as part of the show.
Well, first of all, being offered a deal is still, it's still to me outrageous that it actually happened. So I don't, I've only watched the show twice now. So once on the big screen at our viewing party, and then once afterwards, because it still doesn't seem real. So it's still so surreal that I went through that experience that we actually got a deal, and then dealing with all of the publicity afterwards. It just seems. It just doesn't seem like I deserve this, if that makes sense. So it's been amazing, the whole experience. But specifically, what do you want to know about the whole experience? It was a close to a year-long process. So yeah. I have a lot to talk about if you want.
Well, just tell me a little bit about sort of being actually recording the show and sort of the sort of specific back and forth you had with some of the hosts of the show.
Yeah, so recording the show is, first of all, it's the most intimidating thing that I will ever do in my life. I'm not sure that there's something that I could do that will possibly be close to that experience. Just from the stress side, from the anticipation side, the nervousness of walking down that hallway. So when you go into, and it's in a huge sound studio where they shoot this. So the Shark Tank set is, in the middle of the studio. And then that hallway is real. Like you're walking down this hallway and you have a cameraman in front of you that's, walking backwards, and you don't want to make faces at him. Like you're like, where do I look? Do I look at the sharks? Do I look at the camera? And so you walk down this hallway, but when they're wiring you up and stuff, you're actually in there and you can hear everything that's going on for the person that goes before you. So I actually was the second pitch of the season. So there was one pitch that went in front of me, and they didn't do well. So so that was a little intimidating, hearing what they had just experienced,
right,
and then going, oh my goodness, this is real. Like I could really embarrass myself on national TV. Like this is no longer speculation. Like
right.
This is real. So, but yeah, as you're walking down that hallway, you can see the sharks. When those doors open, you see the sharks. And one fun fact, man, I'm not even sure if I should say this stuff, but one fun fact, you walk up to a line and you stop. And the director prepares you ahead of time. He says, "This is going to be the longest 2 minutes of your entire life," because you stand there, and what they're doing is they're setting cameras. There's booms, boom cameras that are kind of going around. Just trying to get, and they're getting some of those like reaction shots, like some of those zoom in shots and stuff like that. But you're literally just staring at the sharks, and they're staring back at you, and you're staring at them, and you're staring. And then you're like, do I stare at Mr. Wonderful? Do I look at over Mark Cuban? Like, where do I look? And he is right. That was the longest 2 minutes. And then they say go. And, because the pitch is first, and the pitch is something that you practice for months leading up to it, because that's the important part. They want to make sure that you're prepared for that minute and a half of hey sharks, this is Joe from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I stuttered. I don't know if you saw that on the thing. I was like I don't remember stuttering, but I had like a little cough, so you kind of go into this autopilot with the pitch, because at least for me, I practiced it hundreds of times.
I was gonna say, I remember we talked about how long you rehearsed to get it down to 2 minutes before they told you, well, now you need to get it down to 1 minute.
Yes. And so then you have this autopilot thing that's happening, but then you come out of it. Now there's interaction. Now you're talking to these people one-on-one, and you're desperately trying, at least me, I'm just going through my experience, I'm desperately trying to forget about the 50 other people that are in the room, the cameras that are zooming around, moving. the director who's off the side, making sure everything goes right. You're just trying to be in that moment, and it's tough, but I did okay, I guess.
So one of the things that I also wanted to sort of talk a little bit about certainly was the deal that you offered. But before I get to that, I wanted to ask, if I'm being honest, when you first got in touch with us and mentioned that you were going to be on Shark Tank, I was pretty sure that there wasn't a good reason for you to have done that unless you guys were going to get offered a deal. Like I said, I know we couldn't talk about it at the time, but as soon as I got back to my office, I went to my editor and I was like, I'm pretty sure you got a deal on Shark Tank.
But I did my job and kept it secret.
Absolutely. You did an excellent job. But one of the things that I also was thinking, I kind of was guessing that, if I had to pick a shark that would have invested, I would have guessed that it would have been Mark Cuban because of his connection to Pittsburgh and that sort of thing. Was it surprising to you that he didn't have more interest?
He actually did have a lot of interest, and there's so much of the show. There's so much of the taping that you don't get to see.
Right.
They have to, in that 12 to 14 minutes, they have to tell a story through that. Right. Otherwise, it's not good TV.
Sure.
So there's a lot of, excuse me. There's a lot that ended up on the cutting room floor, and Mark actually, you probably saw that I got beat up a little bit about my margins and how how our business is structured. And Mark was actually the only one in that conversation that was like, I get it. I understand what you're doing. I understand why you're doing it this way. When it came down to the deal side of it, there were already 3 on the table. And, Mark pretty much said, these guys, this is a really good deal. This is their wheelhouse. They're retail people.
Right. As I say, he mentioned that it's just not something that he has a lot of experience with.
Yeah, and that was really what it came down to. So I do think, and I don't want to speak for Mark or anybody like that, but I believe that if it would have gone through and nobody was interested and he was the last one, I think that there was enough interest, again, just based off of my time in there, that we probably would have worked something out. But by the time it got to him, there's already 3 people that had offers out, and he legitimately thought that their offers were better than what he could bring to the table.
Right. So when you got into a situation like that where you were getting offers from 3 sharks, in the time that you had there, how do you sort of weigh one against the other in terms of what it can do for your business?
Well, first of all, we went in prepared, looking at each of the sharks and what they could do for our business.
Because I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you sort of, you want to pitch them a situation for a deal that you would like, and sort of there's sort of that give and take over the course of the time that you spend on the show, right? If there's a deal on the table.
Sure. And yeah, so what happens is, the beginning is the pitch, right? And they want to understand the product. Then there's this big section in the middle that is all about your company, and there's a lot of back and forth that happens there. Not a lot of that was aired,
right?
Because it's boring. I don't know how to say it. Like, I'm in the window and door industry. It's not a sexy industry. So they cut almost all of that out. But then when it gets to the point where they go, it's time, like they said, I want to make a deal. All of that stops. And so, and as soon as one of them says that, like pretty much all the questions are over.
Right.
Like they're done, and now they're evaluating the deals. And one of the things that you don't see is they take a ton of notes through all of this. And I was in there for a couple hours. So it wasn't like, I was in there for a lot longer than the 14 minutes.
Right.
So, they're taking a lot of notes. They're legitimately trying to, in their minds, formulate a deal that makes sense to them. So, so for us, because I can't take notes, I can't be doing any of this stuff on TV, we almost had to have the deals in place with each of the sharks. I went in going, oh, if this is Barbara, like this is what we think that she can do, and this is the deal that we would want to do with her.
Yeah.
If it's Mark Cuban, this is the deal that we would want to do with him. And we went through each and every shark to look at what is the advantage to the shark, and then what is the advantage to us, and then what would we be willing to, what is that give and take that we would be willing to do with each of the individual sharks.
Okay.
So now not everybody does that. That's just, I'm a way over prepared type of person. But that's what we did. And when we first of all, Barbara is fantastic. Mr. Wonderful is fantastic. Those sharks that made offers, but Lori was the one that we thought had the most advantage to us.
Okay, I was gonna say, tell me a little bit about the deal that she offered you, and how did that compare with your sort of expectations of what you might be able to do with her?
So when my partners and I were talking, and again, we're trying to formulate this, what is the best case scenario with each of the sharks? We had seen Barbara put out an offer on a company in exactly the same way that she did with us. Like, you guys have this wholesale business, because that's, to them, what I do right now is wholesale. I'm selling to the window manufacturer, so that's wholesale. You keep that over here. I only want to be dealing with the retail, and so we'll start a separate entity and do this. And I'm not lying. I said to my partners, if I could get that deal with Lori Grenier, that is the perfect scenario for us. And so when Mr. Wonderful had put out his deal, Lori had made an offer, and then Barbara came out with this thing where it's like, hey, I want to start a completely separate retail company. You keep your main company, you keep your parent company. I'm not going to touch that, but we're going to start this thing together. And immediately, the sharks could tell my body shifted. I turned to Barbara, and then she and I, again, you don't see a lot of this, but she and I started having a lot of conversations about what that looked like.
Okay. And
then, Lori jumped in and said, I'll match that offer. And so that to me was just like, oh my goodness, this actually happened, like exactly what we wanted to have happen. And so, Lori, she said it in subsequent phone calls and things like that. She's less concerned about the business, more concerned about the product and the person. Mm-hmm. So I'm a passionate guy. So there's, I sell my product very, very well. And the product is, it's a screen, but in the screen industry, it's revolutionary. So when she saw how much of a difference that makes, the fact that it's patented and all that stuff, she wanted the product.
Yeah.
So she was willing to essentially do a deal that she didn't create, just as a way of getting that product as part of the Lori Grenier family.
And so what she's talking about is sort of taking that and creating essentially a flex screen store. Rather than sort of what you're doing right now, which is what you said, selling directly to window manufacturers.
Yeah, so it'll be flex screen retail, so it'll be responsible for our e-commerce, that we do now. People can go on flexscreen.com and buy screens, but also negotiating with the big boxes, stuff like that. So we're talking to a couple of the big boxes now, but everything that is non-wholesale will go through this new entity called Flex Screen Retail.
Okay,
so. It's but yeah, that's the deal that we struck with her.
Very cool. And so, that's something that happens in the recording of a television show. Tell me a little bit, or as much as you're able to, because I know it's sort of something that's still in the process. Tell me a little bit what happens sort of in real life after an offer like that is made to a company like this.
Lots of lawyer fees is what happens. So
a lot of telephone conference calls.
Yes, a lot of conference calls, a lot of due diligence.
Yeah.
So we have to, to even get into the taping, so you go through this whole process of they're evaluating you, and they're evaluating. I'm talking about the producers. So Shark Tank is evaluating. We had to send in videos and stuff like that. They want to make sure that somebody can hold their own on camera, that they're not going to pass out or anything like that in front of the cameras. Then they want to understand their product.
They'll let you flame out, but they won't let you pass out.
Yeah, they don't want you to pass out. That's they have to bring in that might be a great episode, but they probably want to do that once. But so you go through this whole thing, and then you actually have to submit all of your financial data and all that stuff, because you're not allowed to lie on the show. Like,
sure.
They don't want you to go up there and make claims that aren't true. So you have to submit all of your financial data and stuff to the show. But then after you close that deal, now all of that data goes to the shark that you've partnered with, and they have to do their own due diligence and just to make sure that it's still something that they want to invest in, and also that there's some synergies there to make sure that deal makes sense for them. So, and some deals don't close. I've had a chance to be in contact with a lot of the past Shark Tank entrepreneurs, which is great. They're so supportive. I mean, the community of people that have walked down that long hallway is fantastic. Even before the show aired, there was another gentleman in Monroeville. He lives in Monroeville now, but he was on in 2013. It was a company called Cell Helmet, and they didn't get a deal on the show. And by the way, I just want to point this out. They did contact the press. They did have a big viewing party, and they did not get a deal. So, so just something to think about. The notoriety that comes with Shark Tank, whether you get a deal or you don't, it changes your company.
Yeah.
And there's some big companies. Ring doorbell. Mm-hmm. They were on Shark Tank, didn't get a deal, and then got bought out by Amazon for $1 billion. Yeah. So I mean, there's good things that happen even if you don't make a deal on the show. But I've had a chance to connect with a lot of them, talk with them, and some deals it just doesn't work out. The Sharks, the deal that's happens on the show. Again, I don't know the details of why it doesn't work out, but yeah, in some instances it just doesn't. So,
well, I can tell you that Ring company's doing something right, because my son wants one of those for his bedroom door.
For his bedroom door?
Nah.
He wants to be able to, sorry, Dad.
Yeah, my guy. No. We're not doing that. Well, hey, congratulations on the deal, and thank you very much for talking with me today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for all of the support. The entire community has been fantastic. So thank you to the Trib and all of the readers and people watching the podcast. We really appreciate it.
And just remind me again, how long ago was it that you were in your garage making this flex screen thing for the first time, and your wife was like, I don't think this is a good idea, Joe?
Yeah, about 7-8 years ago. So, and she, and in fairness, she never said it wasn't a good idea. She may have rolled her eyes at me once or twice, when I'm like, I'm going to make $1 million on window screens. But yeah, it's been that long. So, that seems like a long time, but it's flew by for sure.
Well, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.